food processing and development in this area, something they desperately need. Thanks very much.
Wow, that was awesome. Give it up for the candidates for council. Okay, at this time, I'm going to ask the council candidates to take a seat, and I would like to call up, in this order, our deputy mayor candidates. First of all, Odette Bartnicki, Michael Martin, and Paul Mitchell. If they could take seats on my right. And on my left, I'd like to have the mayor candidates come up, Gail Ardell, Alar Soever, and David Wilding Davis. Okay, without further ado, we're going to get moving. It's interesting, I hadn't ever thought of this explained as speed dating. But I guess it's a good analogy. And we do apologize for the brevity. That's why we gave them the questions in advance. But with 16 candidates and wanting to hear from everybody, it was necessary to make things relatively brief. So here we go again. We are going to start with the deputy mayor candidates, and we're going to do their 2 minutes, followed by their second 2 minutes, and then we'll move to the mayor candidates. So right now I would ask that we are going to address the overall long-term economic development strategy and plan, and we'll start with Odette Bartnicki.
I'm the one that has to pull this down the farthest. I was thinking today about how I would explain what economic development is to my little granddaughter who is 10 or to a class of school children. It's about increasing the well-being and the quality of life of our entire community in a way that reflects our social, cultural, and environmental values. Effective economic development decisions look ahead, using market predictions and demographic data, including what will happen when the gray tide of baby boomers has passed. Plans must promote the community's overall vision outlined in the Sustainable Path in red, hot, and blue. And it's important to look at where we've been over the last 2 decades and learn from that experience, as well as the experience of other municipalities, some which have been successful and others that are dying. Plans and visions are nothing without the will to take the steps to realize them. If privileged to be elected, I would work with council, staff, and the Economic Development Advisory Committee, which has representatives from Blue Mountains Village Association, Chamber of Commerce, BIA, Georgian Triangle Tourist Association, and several others. Also representatives of small business and entrepreneurs. Entrepreneurs actually make up right now 50% of our local economy. And there's others working to promote that sustainable development as well. I see the need to ensure that Attainable Housing Corporation and the Agricultural Advisory Committee have a strong voice in economic sustainability too. We're a little fractured right now. All of these groups have already identified the challenges and opportunities, and they've been very proactive in bringing data to Council too. We've recently recruited a new 50% economic development person and 50% communications person. However, I believe that job is important enough that it should have a full-time person. There might be other staff savings that we could realize. I guess I'm
Thank you very much, Odette. Next up, Michael Martin.
Yes, and I'd like to thank the Chamber as well as all of you people for attending. It's kind of daunting up here, having the lights in your eyes. It's like reading the epistle at church, and I hope you listen more. And anyways, and I also want to say I want to thank the community for having elected me for 3 consecutive terms, and I am very humbled and I feel grateful for that. But my economic vision for us, I like to look at the positive side of things. I think there's enough of the negatives, but on the other hand, looking 20, 30 years ahead, we need a vision that's positive. We need a prosperous community. We need a community that meets everybody's needs, and we need a community that works together. To achieve this, we need good governance, and that means the council must take its priorities from the electorate and lead from what the electorate wants. We also need sustainable economic growth, and that is maintained by meeting our vision in our official plan, which is a document that leads the community. And we need to develop the communities that work together and are integrated with different styles of housing. And but again, in the end, we need a happy population who gets along with its council, and its council gets along with the people. And the sustainable targets, yes, we need to follow what they are, and that's very important, and that has changed our growth strategy as well.
15
Anyways, that's it, Steve. Thanks, folks.
Thank you very much, Michael. Next up is Paul Mitchell.
Thank you for all coming, and I'm not going to waste any more time because I've only got 2 minutes. I think the key here is action. We have a lot of studies that have been sitting, carrying dust. We need to get some action because there are people out in this audience, I'm sure, they came to council and said, we don't have workers. We're bringing people from Toronto, and we don't have any place to put them at night. So we need some action. So what we first need to do is, I think, broaden our affordable housing to affordable accommodation. And this new study that's out gives us all the opportunity to pick and choose different areas. So in other words, we shouldn't concentrate just on affordable housing. We should go to affordable accommodation. The next thing is that I came to Orangeville, or not Orangeville, I did live there for a while. I came to Thornbury, and my wife and I started up a business on the main street called Light Plus, which you might remember. It's been gone now for some time, but I know what it is to have a business and how to make to try and make money on the main street. It's difficult. So we have to come up with ideas on, first of all, we have to supply the people, and we have to find out how we're going to get them here, and that's
15
transportation.
seconds.
Is that true?
You have
I've
15
already-
seconds. Actually,
Sorry.
9 now.
Oh, just a reminder? Oh. So it's kind of hard to know. So I think we need action, and not to discuss, bring out more studies, and sure, we can bring those studies off and dust them out, but we need action. because you're demanding action. And we need to get at it right away, and that's what a team council will do.
Thank you, Paul. So next up, the three deputy mayor candidates will answer those other three questions. Tourism, agriculture, and development are the big three. What would you do to specifically encourage growth in these areas? What plans do you have to leverage the current boom to create sustainable growth? And what plans do you have to encourage diversity in our economy? First up, we're back to Odette.
The instructions said 2-minute answer on any of the following questions. All three questions are interconnected. To ignore any one of them is irresponsible in terms of economic sustainability, and 2 minutes allows me to barely scratch the surface. So I'm going to take my cue from Terrence, who turned up the speed. Tourism, construction, development, and agriculture are definitely drivers, but management, professional, administrative, and other services account for 26% of our businesses, according to StatsCan 2016. Over 54% of companies in this township employ 4 people or less. They are healthcare, arts and culture, media tech, retail, learning, sports and recreation, and many others. We also have manufacturing businesses here, like Breaker Technologies, with over 170 employees, making equipment for a global market. At the same time, agriculture is innovating to grow more trees on less land, with less labor and less chemicals, and they are trying to compete for international markets. I'd love to work with the vineyards and the apple growers and farmers, although, full disclosure, I might impact the profit margin of those vineyards a little bit, and I am still not ready, thanks for the offer, to inseminate a cow. I have had that offer twice in the last week. Thank you for the offer. I welcome the vineyard and distillery initiatives, though. Those have not hurt Prince Edward County at all, which just started down that path about 15 years ago. There's an opportunity to build proactive relationships with Grey County. They have 3 economic development officers full-time. We need more of their focus here, and I'll leave it there.
Thank you, Odette. And over to Michael.
Yes, thank you. And I have your attention again. And the main areas of agriculture, tourism, and development, I will concentrate a little bit more on the development side, because we have to look at development in a positive light. If you keep looking at it in the negative, you'll never get good development. And part of the question is what I would do to motivate this. I, being an advocate because of my long legal background, advocates, what do? We jump hurdles, we go under and through them, and that's what we need in the development industry. And we have to get away from red tape. One project that was totally killed with red tape was Cedar Run, and that was very unfortunate. However, I'm the only one who brought the document. It's called a Sustainable Path. It's something we need to follow. It really answers all our questions, and it certainly needs updating. It was from 2006, and one of the issues in the development side of it was an agricultural committee on council, and with Gail and my initiative, that was formed, and it's still functioning. How am I doing?
43 seconds.
Okay, 43 seconds. Anyways, and same with the tourism. What we need with the tourism, we need a plan to find out what the tourists want and enhance those opportunities, but we also need to enhance the opportunities for our own residents. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. And for one last time, Paul Mitchell.
I didn't talk about the farming community, and I think that we've kind of ignored the farms. And I think they need to speak up more and get the attention. I see very little goes on in council in the 20 years that I've been going to council. And I think the community has to get active, and we have to help them get active. I don't know whether any of you know, but there's going to be 10 wineries in the next 10 years, one each year, I'm told. And we're going to have the people to work in these wineries. So transportation and housing are very, very important. And again, I come back to action. We need action. That's really what we need. And I think if you put in a council that works as a team, we can get at these subjects and get some action. And later on, we can go to economic development officer to bring some new business. But we have to support the business we've got here now. And that's the most important thing. How am I doing?
You got 49 seconds.
49 seconds. Okay. I think I should finish up by saying you have to vote. I hear too many people when I go around at the door saying they're not going to vote. They don't like the system. We haven't got a perfect system. I'd like one that you could check off a ballot. But we do have a system that will work, and this morning we saw it working, and it does work. And the most important thing is that you get out and vote, because this is probably the most important election
15 seconds.
that our community will ever face. Thank you.
Thank you to our deputy mayor candidates. Big round of applause for those. Okay, well, you know, the top job is mayor. We have 3 candidates. So without further ado, overall economic development strategy, long-term economic development strategy. First, I would ask Gail Ardell.
Thank you, Steve, and I am Gail Ardell, and I'm presently your deputy mayor. And when Rob Potter mentioned this wonderful building we have here, back in many years ago, I was the chair of property for the township of Collingwood, and I told council we need to give this back to the community, and that's what we did. And this is a fantastic building because it was volunteers who put it back to the way it is. And my strategy is a bit different here, so I'm going to start off with we need to revisit and update the Regional Economic Development Strategic Plan. This was commissioned in June of 2011 with the South Georgian Bay region, which included Blue Mountain, Clearview, Collingwood, and Wasaga Beach. This initiative was funded by the provincial government, which contributed 90 cents on the dollar. And this is 8 years old, and our area and our needs have changed considerably. We need to think regionally, and we cannot plan in isolation. We need to improve our communications, our partnerships with our neighboring municipalities, not to compete, but to complement. How are we going to do this? Implement a team led by local employers to work closely with, but not limited to, healthcare, regional transportation, tourism, employment, industry, which includes agriculture and agritourism. These are just a few of the items. We need to give opportunities for our youth through Georgian College and employment. We need to encourage the region to work closely with Georgian College to integrate the business community. Also engaging Georgian College to explore university partnerships, executive leadership programs, and expand post-secondary education opportunities that keep our young people at home with additional students coming into the region. Our community needs a range of housing choices to promote affordability for the young people. We need to support value-added agriculture, culinary tourism to attract new businesses, to retain but expand existing businesses. Agriculture continues to be the cornerstone of our municipality's economy and identity. Tourism is a key economic driver, and we need to continue to enhance this area as we are.
Wow. Thank you, Gail. And next up is Alar Soever.
Hi, my name's Lars Weber, and I'm running for mayor. No, up. Okay. Thank you all for coming out. It's great to see this amount of community engagement because, you know, going forward, if we're going to accomplish anything, it can't be 7 people behind closed doors. It has to be the community at large working together and working as a group toward our common good. I've been coming to the town of Blue Mountains for over 60 years, and I've seen a lot of change in both the community and the economy in that time. When I was a child, we were a largely agricultural community with some small industry. My father, a carpenter, chose to build a cottage at Christie Beach because it was cheap compared to Lake Simcoe and Muskoka. So times sure have changed. Due to the popularity of our community as a tourist and retirement destination, our community is now in a transition with the addition of tourism and development to agriculture as major economic drivers. While tourism and development have been good for our economy and we are the most prosperous part of Grey County, these industries have brought with them problems which threaten the sustainability of our community. With the boom in tourism and development, we have seen huge increases in property value. And while this has been great for our tax base, it has brought problems like the lack of attainable housing, and now young families can't afford to move here. So in the future, we won't have enough workers. We already don't, but it'll get worse. And therefore, our economy won't be sustainable. We also have major transportation issues. Council has not reacted proactively to these issues, and we're at a breaking point. We need to have a vision and strategy for our community to deal with these issues, and we already had one in 2009 and 10 with the 2 documents you've heard mentioned today, the red, hot, and blue,
15 seconds,
and the sustainable path. We need to move forward with implementing this vision. Having a vision is not enough, and we need to get on with updating these documents and working together to address all of the issues in those documents, including attainable housing, workforce issues, the increased demand for community services, local health care, education, transportation, and all of the infrastructure that goes with it. Thank you.
Thank you, Alar. And next up is David Wilding Davis.
Good evening and welcome to our business community. Who we are today and who we will be tomorrow. Right now we are experiencing a wonderful period of growth. We have more and more tourists who are coming to our community and spending money. And as business owners, we like that. We have more and more people who are coming and wanting to live in our community. Our businesses that work in the development industries are doing well. We like that. Where will we be tomorrow? Well, I think as the baby boom generation maybe has less impact, I still think we are going to continue to grow. And I think if we look at our wonderful bay that we have, our ski hill, our golf courses, restaurants, our reputation for culinary and hospitality excellence, the fact that we have 5 million people who live within 2 hours of here, they will continue to want to come and they will continue to want to spend money, which is important for our business community. What is our role as council, as your town in this? Well, if we want more people to come and spend money here, we're going to need a transportation network that allows them to come and move within our community. So we have to stay ahead of the curve when it comes to keeping our roads and our transportation system able to carry this extra capacity. If we want more people to come and spend money in our town of Thornbury, at some point we're going to have an issue with parking. We need to stay ahead of that. So what I think is important for your town is a town that will see forward and be able to accommodate our growth and allow us as business owners to continue to make money. Thank you.
Excellent, thank you. Once again, phase 2, 3 questions. Answer any one of them or all of them. Tourism, agriculture, and development are the big three. What would you do to specifically encourage growth in these areas? What plans do you have to leverage the current boom to create sustainable growth? And lastly, what plans do you have to encourage diversity in our economy? First up would be Gail Ardell.
Thank you. Being one of the shortest up here. How do I plan to encourage growth in tourism, development, and agriculture? Again, I will say we need to work regionally. We cannot plan in isolation. We need to work with Grey County Tourism, the Regional Tourism Organization, RTO7, and tourism stakeholders. Our new Communication and Economic Officer will be quite busy when he starts in October. He needs to familiarize himself with our many actions that we've already put in place and will continue to use. Growing and improving our marketing efforts, promoting local tourism website in conjunction with what we have at Grey County, getting out and to meet and greets with all tourism stakeholders to find out how we can really help them. Agriculture, that's my cup of tea. Supporting and advising our Agricultural Advisory Committee. The needs of the agricultural area are rapidly changing. Partner with the Ontario Federation of Agriculture and other agricultural support agencies to develop a how-to start toolkit aimed at assisting new farmers and farm-based businesses, and encourage appropriate growth and development of farm and non-farm activities by reviewing and updating the town's policy framework, which is in place to support small-scale on-farm diversified uses. Work with the community, support local farm markets, showcase agricultural entrepreneurs in a quarterly magazine. Development, planned growth, not developer-driven. We need to work on this. We need attainable housing, and we need it now. If we choose to ignore this type of housing, we will not have growth or economy. Our community will not be sustainable. We need everything that I have been speaking about. And above all, we need to maintain and grow a safe community while leaving the next generation with the beautiful area and community that attracted us all here in the first place. I have the experience, core knowledge, and I am an entrepreneur, and I know how to organize. I've run several businesses and previously appointed to the Chamber and the BIA, and I understand how these groups are concerned for the town, and I am too.
Thank you, Gail. And next up, Alara Soever.
I found the questions interesting. It said, first one said, how would you encourage growth in the development industry? I don't plan to encourage growth in the development industry. I want to manage it better. We have a lot of development, and it will come, and so it's not going to stop. But I don't think we need to encourage growth in it. I think we need to manage it better, and we need to work with the developers, and one of the key areas to work with them on is affordable housing, attainable housing. Whistler did that. Whistler started working on this in 1984. We're nowhere near that. They now have 2,000 development resident restricted housing units, and 78% of the people that work in Whistler live in Whistler. They really have a community. If we don't do that, we'll have a transient workforce. The workforce will live other places. We'll just be a bedroom community. We won't be a real community. So that's very important. But in terms of the other two sectors, agriculture and tourism, I have some very specific proposals on that. In terms of agriculture, we need to look at, Paul mentioned that there was 10 wineries coming. We need to work as a council, encourage, and I know that some of the wineries are already working toward this, is getting us recognized as a wine region. That brings a huge amount of tourism. That brings dollars from the Ontario government to bring people here. And it keeps our agricultural feel. So that's very important. We also need to encourage other businesses. We actually do have manufacturing here. Most of you...
15 seconds.
Okay, we have BTI and Masaba, both of which most people don't know where they are because they fit into the community so well. We also need to encourage our entrepreneurs, and very important is also bringing high-speed internet. Thank you.
Thank you, Alar. Appreciate that. Last up is David Wildling Davis.
I want to talk a little bit about diversifying our economy, because obviously an economy that is diverse is what we want. And I think to do this, we really want to leverage things we already have. We have agriculture, we have our tourism, and we have our reputation for culinary and hospitality excellence. And I think we need to think of value adding. And I think a great example is the apple. You know, we've been growing apples in this district a long time, and it's made our community, right? But we grow an apple, and the farmer makes money, and he supports those industries that, you know, his farm equipment and inputs. And then it goes to the apple processing plant, it gets valued added. But now we have people making cider out of this apple. And that is a whole other level of value adding. And out of that, they need people who do the marketing and who can do the selling of that apple. And that apple, instead of leaving our community, stays in our community a little bit longer and generates a little bit more money. I see a lot of our diversity going that way. Now, as a town, what are we going to do to help this? And this is an important thing. I don't really think our job as a town is to identify these things. I think very often our entrepreneurs and our business owners are better at that. I think there are already some great things like our Community Futures program and the BDC that help with capital development. But I think what we want to do as a town is we want to be able to make sure we have a business-friendly environment. We need to make sure that all our departments are properly staffed, and I mean by that the correct staffing level, competence, and attitude. An attitude where they are going to make things business-friendly. There is a lot of red tape. There's a lot of permits that need to happen, but we need to cut through that. We need to make sure as a town that we have a reputation as being welcoming and helpful for business. And I also want to mention, as we grow, and I was trying to touch on it in my first talk, and we want growth.
Time's up.
And we want that, but...
Thanks, David. Thank you to all of the mayor candidates. You guys were awesome. So this concludes the formal part of this evening, and I want to thank all of you for coming out, taking time out for your evening, and attending this. I want to thank all 16 candidates, and that's really important that all 16 who are running are here tonight. I want to thank Rogers for recording this event and telecasting it so that the entire community, including those people that got turned away at the door, can actually listen to the insightful answers from all the candidates. I want to thank Bruce Street Technologies for the live webcast. I want to thank the Marsh Street Center for hosting us. And Emily Dean, our very, very capable coordinator. Because truthfully, I got in from a 2-week holiday in France late last night. Emily did everything, so thank you again. At this point in time, we're going to close things down, but we are not necessarily, we don't have to leave here. I would encourage you to stay. I would love it if the candidates would stay. Small group discussions are oftentimes the best. Corner them in the corner and ask your questions. So again, thank you and good evening.